जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। Thank you once again, Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu. Thank you so much, Param Karuna Prabhu, all the wonderful devotees who have kindly assembled here today for this 27th session of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Dear devotees, we have covered the first verse and we are on the second verse of the Śikṣāṣṭakam, and we are discussing the Nam Aparads, the primary one being Satam Ninda, that is critiquing the sadhus, the saintly souls. Once again, dear devotees, I'll recite the verse which has been composed specifically for this verse of the Śikṣāṣṭakam. Ekātmani dvyavasthāyam hridehe vākcatuṣṭaye panchatatve षडक्षेषु सप्तचक्रेषु मे तथा सदा विशतु गौरांग महाप्रभुमुखोद्गतम् रम्यं शिक्षाष्टकं येन धन्यः स्याम भूरि भूरिशः. So I've already spoken the translation of this verse many times previously. So devotees who wish to see the translation in detail can refer to the previous sessions. But this is a verse which was composed for the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Dear devotees, we also have a new verse related to Shri Harinam from the Puranas, and this verse is as follows. Te shava purusha loke yesham hridini keshavah keshavarpita chittaye na shava na punarbhava. So this particular verse is having a rhyme on the term shava and keshava, the devotees. It says te shava purusha loke. Shava, dead bodies, are those individuals yesham hridi na keshava, whose hearts do not have keshava, Krishna, within them. On the other hand, keshavar pita chittaye, those who have offered their chitta, their consciousness unto keshava, na shava, they neither become shava, they don't die like ordinary mortals, na punarbhava, nor are they punarbhava, nor are they reborn, because they attain liberation. So this is a very nice verse from the Bhagavan Nam Mahatmya Sangraha. Dear devotees, we are continuing the second verse of Shri Shiksastakam. Nam namakari bahudha nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamitaha smarane na kalaha etādṛśī tava kṛpā bhagavan mamāpi durdaivam īdṛśam ihājani nānurāgaḥ. Especially, we are covering the final clause, that etādṛśī tava kṛpā bhagavan mamāpi durdaivam īdṛśam ihājani nānurāgaḥ. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you kindly read the Anvay once?
O Bhagavan, in regard to your unlimited names, immense variety has been manifested by you. Moreover, all of your personal potencies have been eternally invested in these names, and no specific time has been fixed for remembering them. Such is your causeless mercy. Yet my misfortune is such that no genuine attachment was developed by me in these names.
Wonderful. So, this is the same Anvay arranged in the form of sentences. As I specified, we have covered the first three clauses of the verse, and we are on the fourth clause. etādṛśī tava kṛpā bhagavan mamāpi durdaivam īdṛśam ihājani nānurāgaḥ. Such is your mercy, and we saw on a weighing scale 2 sessions ago we had put that Bhagavan's mercy is on one side, and on the other side is the misfortune of the conditioned living entities, that no attachment was developed. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the misfortune primarily consists of the aparadhs committed by the various living entities. Dear devotees, the first nam aparadh was satam ninda, public criticism of a sadhu. Namnah paramam aparadham vitanute. It causes the greatest aparadh in relation to Shri Nam. Why so? Yatah khyatim yatam. Because it was the sadhu who caused Nam to become renowned in the world. Katham u. How will sahate tad vigarham? How will Harinam tolerate an aparadh towards that very sadhu? So in this way, dear devotees, the first aparadh has been listed in the previous session, and we saw 3 circumstances involving ninda. Last time, the first was when we are the aggressor, when we are the critic who is critiquing somebody else, critiquing somebody's character. Second is when we are the witness or the person who is hearing the criticism of a sadhu. And third is when we are the victim. When we are the aggressor, dear devotees, often there are people who become critics because they see the Vaishnava society as being full of problems, and then they feel that the only way we can reform this entire society is if we become harsh critics of those who are deviating from what we believe is the standard. Unless we instill fear of criticism in the hearts of people who are deviating, there is absolutely no way they are going to stop. Therefore, it is important for us to become critics of those who are deviating from the norm in the Vaishnava society. And in this way, dear devotees, you will find many people who become outspoken public critics of other people's character, pointing out the faults in their character in a public setting, and in this way, trying to instill fear of criticism in the hearts of others, so that people will finally learn how to behave. And when people will learn how to behave, then the society will be a better place to live in. Such is their thought process, and in this way they begin their public criticism. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada wrote an article about this in the Harmonist, and he was describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's tour of southern part of India in that article. And in that article, he wrote something. He said that the world stands in no need of any reformer. Absolutely no need of any reformer. So many critics have come in the past, and so many will come in the future. The world remains still a place where people are subject to 4 defects and people commit many mistakes. So anybody who thinks that my reform is the one which will finally bring about sustainable or permanent change, such a person doesn't know that sustainable permanent change is not brought about by the agency of one person's criticisms. The competent person who brings a change is actually Bhagavan. It is only Bhagavan who is capable of changing the collective consciousness of a society. And only when the collective consciousness of a society changes does the society change. A single person who thinks that I am the one who will renovate this society, reform this society, is in fact making a mistake. On the other hand, by public criticism, such a person also takes upon many negativities upon himself or herself, which we will see in today's talk. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada continues. The person who determines that there is scope for reform of the world himself stands in need of reform. The world goes on in its own perfect way, and no person can deflect it even the breadth of a hair from the course chalked out for it by providence. Dear devotees, see a very important point here. He's saying that the world is anyways going to go about in its own perfect way and nobody can change the course of the world. Even people who are planning to change the course of the world are part of providence. This is what he's trying to indicate to us. If somebody thinks that I will change the society, I will change the way the people in the society behave by my criticism, it is basically providence impelling us to critique somebody. Dear devotees, the world does not deviate even the breadth of the tip of the hair from the course chalked out by providence. Please note the importance of providence in this entire sentence. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada is a firm believer in the fact that the world goes on exactly as decided by providence. Now, what about the people, whom we see? Sometimes some people in this world, we see that they are helplessly uh, manipulated by providence to act in certain ways. Providence makes a person act in a certain way. We think we will correct a person who is behaving incorrectly. But think about that person who is behaving incorrectly. That person too is behaving incorrectly because providence is making them act in a certain way. There's a very nice verse in the Pandav Gita where Duryodhan says something to Shri Krishna. Duryodhan says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittar, janamya dharmam nachame nivrittihi, kenapi devena hridisthitena, yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi. Duryodhan said, Janami dharmam, I know what is religiosity. Nachame pravrittir, yet I have no affinity for it. Janami adharmam, and I also know what is irreligiosity. Nachame nivrittihi, yet I cannot get rid of it. Kenapi devena hridisthitena, yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi. I act according to the guidance of a certain personality situated within my heart. It is very important to understand that even when Shri Krishna was personally present on the planet, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu couldn't Shri Krishna have avoided the entire Mahabharat war?
Yes.
He could have prevented the entire Mahabharat war. He could have made Duryodhan think that the war is not worth it. He is the super soul within the heart of Duryodhan. Yet Bhagavan impelled Duryodhan to think in a way so that the war will happen. This is because Bhagavan wanted to use the war as an excuse to rid the earth of its excess burden. And Duryodhan acted exactly in the way Bhagavan wanted him to act. And for this reason, even though Bhagavan went as a peacemaker, a peacekeeper, to ensure that both parties will not fight, Bhagavan internally desired that the Mahabharat should actually happen. And the Mahabharat did happen. And so many Kshatriyas were killed in the battle, and the earth felt relief, immense relief, because these Kshatriyas were torturing the earth and creating so many troubles on the planet. Dear devotees, a particular person is behaving in a particular way because providence, their previous karma, is impelling them. If we are in charge of a particular project or a particular temple, and if it is our duty to correct errors, then we can very happily try to correct others because it is within the purview of our rights. Otherwise, dear devotees, the best thing we can do is to report to a suitable authority, and we have done our duty. Dear devotees, he continues to say, when we perceive any change being actually effected in the course of events of this world by the agency of any particular individual, he says, if you see any change being done by any individual in this world, then we must know very well that the agent possesses no real power at any stage. The agent finds himself driven forward by a force belonging to a different category from himself. And I had specified this last time. Bhagavan has said in the Gita that yad yad vibhutimat sattvam shrimat urjitam evava. If you see any person possessing any extraordinary capabilities, know that the person is simply carrying a spark of my splendor. Bhagavan has said this in the Gita. So if anybody is impelled from within the heart by Bhagavan to be a reformer, that person will helplessly act as a reformer. But dear devotees, if a particular person is being impelled from within to act in a destructive manner, that person will helplessly act in a destructive manner. The world will go on exactly as chalked out by providence, according to the previous nature accumulated by the living entities. And therefore, if a person thinks I am the doer and I am the reformer, that person himself needs some reform. The course of the world does not require to be changed by the agency of any person. What is necessary is to change our outlook on this world. This is what he says. He says, the scriptures declare that it is only necessary to listen with an open mind to the name of Krishna from the lips of a bona fide devotee. As soon as Krishna enters the listening ear, he clears up the vision of the listener so that he no longer has any ambition of ever acting the part of a reformer of any other person, because he finds that nobody is left without the very highest guidance. In this way, it is therefore his own reform by the grace of God. This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's message to people who want to appoint themselves in the role of a reformer. And even after knowing all this, there may be certain people who are helplessly driven to act as a reformer. Know that somebody within their heart is impelling them. But the intelligent ones will understand that the actual reformer in this world is Bhagavan himself. The actual change maker in the world is Bhagavan himself. Without his direction, nothing can actually happen. So why take upon oneself the negativity of being a critic? This, dear devotees, is the sum and substance of what he wants to say. The conclusion, dear devotees, if we are the aggressor, if we are the critic, is given by Shri Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Shri Krishna says, Parasvabhava karmani yah prashamsati nindati sa ashu bhrashyate swarthad asatyabhiniveshatah. Parasvabhava karmani yah prashamsati nindati. Whoever indulges in praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will ashu, very quickly, bhrashyate, become deviated, swarthat, from his own best interest. Why? Asati abhiniveshatah, by entanglement in illusory dualities. Now we can understand that one should not critique the qualities of others, but Bhagavan has also said prashamsati, praising the qualities of others. Some people make it their business to artificially praise others without any genuine reason. This also is critiqued by Bhagavan here. One should not artificially praise others. So unnecessary praise and unnecessary criticism, both are to be avoided. Necessary praise, necessary criticism should definitely be done. And what are the avenues for necessary criticism? I specified last time. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur had said when a disciple has requested private correction, when a guru is teaching the disciple and exposing the faults of the material world, or if there is a charlatan, non-Vedic person who's cheating the world. And to save innocent souls from such people, one may, engage in some criticism. Similarly, sometimes some praise may be genuine. That is all right. But to falsely indulge in praising others, to become a bootlicker, is also not approved by Bhagavan here. Dear devotees, in this way, this is the conclusion given by Bhagavan if we are the ones who are the agent performing the criticism. One should also know that by critiquing others, one is adding to one's negative karma, negative reaction. This is specifically given in the Mahabharata, where a Brahman named Kaushik comes to visit a hunter, a butcher named Vyad. And the butcher is named Dharma Vyad. He stays in Mithila, but his knowledge of Dharma is much higher than the Brahmana. And the Brahmana inquires from Dharma Vyad. And Dharma Vyad says something to the Brahmana. Na kutsayamyaham kinchin na garhe balavattaram kritam anveti kartaram pura karma dvijottama. Dvijottama, or topmost Brahmana. Na kutsayami aham kinchin. I do not find faults with anything. Na garhe balavattaram. Nor do I envy and critique someone more capable than me. Why? Because I am fully aware that previous karma gives its results to the person who performed that karma. So today, if I indulge in any criticism, undue criticism of any person, tomorrow it will result in that karma coming back to me. And tomorrow, even if I try to avoid that suffering by any means, I will not be able to avoid it. It is very important for us to understand that suffering comes to us because of something we have done in the past. And no matter how much we try to avoid that suffering, we may try to take help of various agencies to avoid that suffering. But ultimately, the amount of suffering that we have to go through definitely comes to us. And that happens because we have put somebody else in suffering in the past. And we will explore this topic in detail today in this talk itself. But if we are the aggressor, we should definitely keep this in mind, that any act of aggression will definitely have repercussions. So before becoming an aggressor, let us think if we are the proper authority who has been appointed to act as an aggressor. If we have the due right, according to Shastra, to act as an aggressor. Is our aggression towards others justified? And is it properly limited according to the rules of Shastra? Then, dear devotees, according to the rules of Shastra, we have every right to engage in criticism, otherwise not. The second circumstance is when we are a witness. Now, we can sometimes helplessly become a witness. Sometimes it happens that we are with a person and suddenly that person critiques some other sadhu. We have no other choice but to hear the words of that person. The words enter our ears. We also especially become a witness when we start taking pleasure in the words of criticism spoken by somebody else. That is when we truly become a witness. We don't become a witness on first hearing of criticism of somebody. But if we start taking pleasure in that criticism and stay there and ask the person to continue critiquing the sadhu, that is when we truly become implicated in this second circumstance. When this happens, Shri Shukadev Goswami specifies in the Bhagavatam that anybody who doesn't immediately stop the person who is critiquing, or anybody who doesn't go away, starts becoming implicated in the criticism. Shri Shukadev Goswami says in the Bhagavatam, this is in the context of Shishupal critiquing Bhagavan. And as soon as Shishupal started critiquing Bhagavan, some kings closed their ears, got up and went out of the assembly. And then Shri Shukadev Goswami says about those who did not leave because they were taking pleasure in Shishupal's criticism of Shri Krishna. And who were the ones taking pleasure? Duryodhan, Shakuni, etc. And in regards to them, Shri Shukadev Goswami says, Nindam bhagavatah shranvams tatparasya janasya va tato napaiti yah sopi yatyatha sukratachyutah. Tato napaiti, anyone who fails to immediately leave the place where he hears criticism of two people, either bhagavatah, of the Supreme Lord, or tatparasya janasya, or his faithful devotee. Such a person, yati adha, will certainly fall down, sukritachyutah, and become bereft of his pious credit. A person who criticizes definitely becomes bereft of his piety, and a person who relishes also becomes bereft of piety, though not as much as the person who is criticizing. Still, a person who takes pleasure in criticism also becomes bereft of piety and becomes implicated in impiety. This is the clear verdict of Shastra. Therefore, Shri Vyasadev also specifies in the Srimad in Sri Mahabharata, Akaranadye dvishanti parivadam vadanti cha na tatrasya nivasosti papabhi papatam vraje. A saintly soul should not reside in a place where people hate and critique other saintly souls. This is because papabhi papatam vrajet, association with the sinful causes one to become sinful oneself. This is a very common theme in Shastra. Association turns us into a different person. The Bhagavad Gita also says, Sangat sanjayate kama, that with association our desires change very easily. Shri Rupa Goswami also confirms, Yasya yat sangatihi pumso manivat syat satad gunaha. Manivat, just as a transparent crystal takes on the colors of its surrounding objects, a human takes on the qualities of the people he associates with. So, when we are in association with a critic, after listening to multiple criticisms, we will start believing, yeah, really, definitely this was needed. This was long overdue. This person is really working for a genuine cause, and therefore all glories to this person who is acting as a critic, reforming the society. Dear devotees, all the while we don't know that the person who's acting as the critic is being internally impelled by his previous behavior to act as the critic. We then start thinking that we should also engage in such criticism to help this person clean up the society. And thus we ourselves become the critic. And therefore, dear devotees, listening to criticism and taking pleasure in such listening also starts affecting us very immediately. And then we become a critic ourselves gradually, and then we also become part of the problem. Dear devotees, these were the first two circumstances. The third circumstance is when we are the victim. And we should be very happy when this is the case, because this is the safest position to be amongst the three circumstances. We get implicated in negativity when we are the aggressor. We get implicated when we are the witness. But no negative reaction comes to us on hearing any criticism that is directed towards us. This is the safest position to be, yet the most difficult position to be. Although it is the safest, there is no doubt about the fact that from a karma point of view, from an aparadha point of view, this is the safest position to be when we are being critiqued, when we are on the receiving end. But there is also no doubt about the fact that this is the most troublesome place to be, especially when we are being critiqued. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, think of yourself investing years and years of hard work into preaching to a certain group of devotees or a certain group of people. And after you've invested many years, and then suddenly you find a person of your own group whom you have cultivated, critiquing you behind your back, saying that actually I feel that this person is not speaking correctly, this person is deviated, we should stop listening to him because he has so many negative qualities. Well, I am putting in a very soft voice, but when the critic will criticize, it will not be so soft. Immediately, it stings us within our heart. We feel, in, like we say in the US, sucker punched from behind. We were punched from behind at a time when we were least expecting it. And at this point of time, we feel the pain of being a victim of criticism. Shri Krishna confirms. Sometimes Shri Krishna heals us by confirming the pain that we are going through. And Shri Krishna tells Uddhav, Barhaspatya sanastyatra sadhurvai durjaneritai duruktair bhinnam atmanam yah samadhatum ishvaraha. Kindly read the translation, Prabhu.
O disciple of Brihaspati, there is virtually no saintly man in this world capable of resettling his own mind after it has been disturbed by the insulting words of uncivilized men.
This is the condition of saintly people. Their minds become so disturbed on hearing words of criticism. Can we imagine what must be happening with ordinary people of this world when they hear criticism? Even saintly people become disturbed. And we can see this very easily by the example of Jad Bharat, who has spent 2 lifetimes in agonizing separation from Bhagavan. And after 2 lifetimes, he takes a vow of not speaking anything to anyone. But ultimately, he gives up that vow because of one incident. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, what was the incident that caused Jad Bharat to give up his vow of silence?
When King Rahugana was stepping on ants, or no, was forcing him to step on ants.
Well, Jad Bharat was quiet at that point of time. After that, something happened.
Oh, Maharaj Rahugana insulted him very harshly.
Oh, that is when Jad Bharat started speaking. So when we are at the receiving end of such criticism, even Jad Bharat, a person who has taken a vow of silence, started speaking. And then he later told Rahugan, Aham pura bharato nam raja. You are thinking you are Rahugan. Have you heard the name Bharat, after whom the country is named Bharat? You are the king of a small province in Bharat. Do you know after whom the entire country is named? I am the one. I am Bharat in a previous life. You were critiquing me, the person after whom this entire country was known. Dear devotees, Jad Bharat spoke to Maharaj Rahugan after being pained by the harsh words of Rahugan. Isn't it a fact that criticism stings us so badly? And therefore, we must have some chikitsa. Chikitsa means we must have some treatment. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a very nice verse in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna defines what is actual yoga. And I am going to point out this particular verse from the 6th chapter of the Gita. In the 6th chapter, verse number 23, Shri Krishna says, dear devotees, you can see, tam vidyat, one should know, dukkha samyoga viyogam, yoga samgitam. What is actual yoga? And Shri Krishna defines in one phrase, dukkha samyoga viyoga. Dear devotees, we know what is the meaning of dukkha. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, what is the meaning of dukkha?
It means suffering. It also means bad air.
Yes, so suffering. So dukkha is suffering and some yoga. Prabhu, can you tell me what is some yoga?
Coming together.
Yes. So contact with dukkha, and then Bhagavan says viyogam and separation. That is what is yoga. Bhagavan says actual practice of yoga. If you may be a bhakti yogi, jnana yogi, ashtanga yogi, we all must master this art. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. So Shri Krishna is saying dukkha samyoga. Definitely you will come in contact with dukkha. But after coming in contact with dukkha, viyogam, the sooner you separate yourself from that particular dukkha, that particular suffering, the sooner you stop associating with that dukkha, that suffering, is the degree of yogi that you are. Bhagavan could have said dukkha viyogam, avoid dukkha, avoid suffering. But Bhagavan does not say dukkha viyogam. Bhagavan says dukkha samyoga viyogam. Because dukkha samyoga, connection with dukkha, connection with suffering is bound to happen. But viyoga is in our hands. The sooner we are able to have viyoga, mental separation from that suffering, is the degree of the yogi that we are. So, tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. One should know that the capacity of being free from connection with dukkha, mental connection with dukkha, is known as actual yoga, dear devotees. So there is no doubt about the fact that when we are in a devotee society, and I had specified this last time, the main reason for criticism is being part of a society. And I had specified this with the verse from the 11th canto, where the Avadhut Brahman, Shri Dattatreya, says that he learnt from a lady not to have many bangles on the hand, because when there are many bangles, there is obviously going to be a sound produced by those bangles. And similarly, when there are many people in a society coming from different cultures, different baggages, different backgrounds, different samskars, different food, different habits, different clothes, different skin color, different nations, different orientations, different preferences, definitely there is going to be conflict and criticism. And therefore, the society itself is the cause of criticism. And dear devotees, this criticism is going to give us immense pain when we are on the receiving end. Shri Krishna has confirmed this fact. Now, simple confirmation is not enough. Shri Krishna continues the confirmation and he says, Na tatha tapyate viddha puman bāṇaistu marmagahi yatha tudanti marmastha hyasatam parusheshavaha. Na tata tapyate viddha puman bāṇais. Sharp arrows which pierce one's chest and reach the heart don't cause as much suffering as the arrows of harsh insulting words that become lodged within the heart when spoken by uncivilized men. And I am speaking also out of personal experience, because many times in the past, I too have been a person who has been critiqued, and I have been told that Hari Parshad Das, we heard somebody speaking terribly against you. And then I have been in the position where it hurts. Bhagavan says, arrows, physical arrows, they don't hurt so much. And why do they not hurt so much? Because they hurt only that part of the body which they strike. But arrows of criticism make your entire body burn. Isn't it a fact, dear devotees? Our entire body becomes agitated. Whereas physical arrows only agitate the part of the body that they are striking. Whereas verbal arrows can set our entire body, mind, intelligence on fire. And this is what happens when somebody critiques us. How can somebody speak like this about me? How could they not understand my true intentions? How did they misjudge me? And not only did they misjudge me, they also spoke so many falsities against me. Dear devotees, in this way, a person immediately starts suffering within their heart, especially when we are unable to do anything to retaliate. That is a position of difficulty. That is a position of suffering. And I have found myself too in this position umpteen number of times. What should we do when we are in such a position? Because unless I speak through experience, my words will not have the effect. I am not somebody who's speaking without experience, because I too am a member of a society. And as I told you, the main cause of conflict and criticism is the existence of the society. And since I too am a member of a society, no matter which society I become a member of, I cannot escape criticism. And when it comes directed towards me, I too feel pained in the heart. I too feel, why did this person not understand me? Why did this person not take out the time and talk to me? Instead of this person critiqued me behind my back. Instead, this person tried to put me down, trivialize me. And this is what hurts. When this happens, dear devotees, one should understand. Did you feel bad? Ask the mind. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu. I am sure you too must have faced some criticism in the society just for being a member of the society. Did you feel bad?
Yes, I felt abandoned.
Wonderful. So you are affirming the fact that you felt bad, you felt abandoned, you felt misunderstood and misjudged severely. And then it is for this very reason that this suffering teaches us something. The way I am feeling bad right now, I should not make anybody else feel bad in a similar manner. The first lesson to be learned. The way this person has made me feel bad about myself by critiquing me, should I make somebody else feel bad in a similar way? No. I don't want to be the creator of any new bad karma, because I know for sure that if I am a mature devotee, I will realize something. And this is something which Dharma Vyad speaks to the Brahmana Kaushik again. Yat karotya shubham karma, shubham va yadi sattama, avashyam tat samapnoti, purusho natra samshayah. O topmost Brahmana, there is no doubt about the fact that a human has to bear the results of the pious or impious deeds committed in the past. So this is a statement from Dharma Vyad, and a similar statement by Śrī-Caitanya Mahaprabhu is also found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Śrī-Caitanya Mahaprabhu says something. And I will share my screen. I'll break out of the presentation and I'll share my screen. Here it's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Antya Leela 2.163. Swakarma phal bhuk ko maan, Prabhu uttar dela. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Lord replied, a person is sure to achieve the results of his fruitive activities. The same statement that Dharmavyad is speaking in the Mahabharata, Śrī-Caitanya Mahāprabhu is speaking in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We should not have any doubts about the fact, dear devotees, that this is the Siddhanta. And God is not playing dice with the universe. God is not giving undue suffering or undue enjoyment to anyone in the universe. If we are suffering, we should first and foremost realize the reason behind it. The first thing we can realize after being critiqued is that I will similarly not engage in this act. This person who has critiqued me may not be so intelligent, may not understand the repercussions of misjudging and falsely critiquing another person. But now I understand what are the repercussions of falsely misjudging, falsely critiquing somebody. Hence, the first lesson to be learnt is for myself. I will not critique a person like this similarly. This is the first lesson to be learnt. Dharmavyad teaches this to the Brahmana Kaushik. All right, future suffering I will avoid. But what about the present suffering? The present suffering has come to me, and while I am suffering through it, I am very unhappy. Dukkha samyoga has happened. But we don't need dukkha samyoga. We need dukkha samyoga viyogam. Now I need to detach myself from the actual experience of suffering that I am going through. If I manage to do this, then I have become a yogi. Then I have truly managed to understand what is the crux of yoga. First and foremost, why was it me? Why was I chosen to be the receiver of this criticism? There's a very nice verse in the Subhashit literature. Yena yatraiva bhoktavyam sukham va dukhameva va sa tatra badhva rajveva balad daivena niyate. Yena yatraiva bhoktavyam sukham va dukhameva va. Whenever and wherever a particular person has to experience sukham, some happiness, or dukkham, distress, he or she is forcefully bound as if by a rope and brought into that situation by providence. The first thing to understand is this, that we are helplessly brought into circumstances of enjoyment or suffering by providence. That there is nothing we could have done to avoid that particular situation. That suffering has come because of providence, and that providence was impelled by some previous act of ours. Now, some people think that I can avoid suffering by taking help from external sources, that I will take guidance from others, that I will take counseling from others, that I will take some help from others. Today we call it counseling. Previously we used to call it guidance. At all points of time in history, counseling or guidance to prevent suffering has been available to people, but it has only been available if providence supports it. And therefore, the Subhashita literature says very importantly, sa sampadyate buddhi samatihi sacha bhavana sahayastādṛṣā eva yādṛṣī bhavitavyata. Sa sampadyate buddhi, one's intelligence, matihi, mental state, bhavana, emotions, as well as sahayas, any external help, counseling, guidance, etc., that one receives, are all perfectly aligned to the outcome decided by providence according to one's karma. So, dear devotees, there is a certain amount of suffering we are supposed to go through, and that suffering is going to come, and that suffering is given by taking into consideration any external help that we are going to take. So external help is also counted. when a particular suffering or enjoyment is given to us. So it is not that by taking help from an external source, we will reduce the amount of suffering. We feel we will reduce, but the amount of suffering was already 50% discounted by Providence. And Providence had already taken into consideration the external help that we were going to get. So external help also comes through Providence. In this way, dear devotees, we can understand that the amount of suffering which is due is definitely going to come. This talk that I am giving to all of you, the help that we are receiving from Shastra, is also going to help us reduce any suffering in the future that may come as a victim of criticism. But please know that all of this is also part of Providence. It is not something that I am doing independently of Providence, because I, Hari Parshad Das too, cannot act independent of the will of Bhagavan in this regard. Dear devotees, therefore, one should understand that the more one engages in criticism of others, the more one adds to their negative karma. And this is what Dharmavyad had said to the Brahmana. I am fully aware that karma gives its results to the person who performed that karma. And while we are suffering, many of us blame other people that this person caused me to suffer, or that person caused me to suffer, or this person is the one critiquing me, this person is my enemy. But Dharmavyad says, look beyond that. Vishamam cha dasham prapto devan garhati vaibhrisham atmanah karma doshani na vijanatya panditah. On attaining an unfavorable situation in life, a person sufficiently blames Providence and the Devatas for his or her misfortune. But such an unintelligent person doesn't know that his unfortunate situation is merely the result of his own previous karma. And therefore, dear devotees, one should understand that we should never, first and foremost, become a critic, and we should never, ever think that if somebody has leveled criticism against us and if somebody has put us into suffering, it has come out of no reason. There was certainly some reason in the past which we may not know right now. Shri Bhishma Dev tells something to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Now Shri Bhishma Dev is going to speak against the critic. If somebody is critiquing us, Shri Bhishma Dev says, no one fact for sure. Pratyaksham gunavadiyah parokṣe chapi nindakah samanavah shvavalloke nashtalokah paravarah. Pratyaksham gunavadiyah. Yudhishthir, you may see many people who express praise in front of us. And then parokshe, but behind our back they critique us. In front of us they are very sweet. Oh, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Prabhu, you are so nice, such a nice devotee. I really admire the seva that you are doing. In front of us they are very sweet. But behind us, you find, critiquing them, critiquing us. Behind our back, they critique us. Bhishma Dev says, very clearly says, know that such a person is living the life of an unfortunate dog in this world. His current life and his next life are doomed to failure. Well, of course, I don't want to take pleasure in the future suffering that such a person is going to get. But Bhishma Dev is telling Maharaj Yudhishthir this because he wants Maharaj Yudhishthir to know that such people are not good for anything in this world. And such people are only hurting themselves by such undue backbiting and criticism. Bhishma Pitama says that it is best to neglect such a person. It is best to neglect and not try to counteract such a person. Upekshitavyo yatnena tādṛṣah purusādhamah Yad yad bruyad alpamatis tattadasya sahed buddha. One should carefully neglect such a low-class critic. Whatever nonsense such a less intelligent person utters should be tolerated by the intelligent ones. And it's very important, and I have seen also an example of this in my life. That there's a very famous sports person in India. He was critiqued very much at one point of time, yet he did not speak anything against any critic publicly. And when he was asked in an interview as to why do you not speak anything against your critics, the only reply he would give is that my performance on the field, my performance on the ground is the best reply I can give. I do not wish to offer criticism as a reply to criticism. It is very important, dear devotees, that careful neglect is the way that we avoid getting implicated into that criticism ourselves. Finally, dear devotees, there is a very nice song written by a Vaishnav named Shri Charandas. Shri Charandas was born around 1700s, and he was born in the northern part of India, and he became a devotee of Shri Krishna. And Shri Charandas wrote a very wonderful song. He wrote many songs, and he especially wrote a song for those who are suffering from the criticism done by others. Please hear this song very nice. It's a very nice song. Please hear very carefully. It is one of my favorite songs, and I'll also post a link to a recording of this song and a recording in a much better voice. But today I'll try to sing this song, dear devotees. Sri Charan Das says that we should see the critic as a friend. And here is the song. Please hear carefully. Sadho निंदक मित्र हमारा, निंदक मित्र हमारा, साधो निंदक मित्र हमारा. Sadho, oh sadhu, oh saintly soul, a critic is our dear friend. निंदक को निकटे ही राखो, हो न देव नियारा. निंदक को निकटे ही राखो. Keep the nindak, keep the critic nikate, keep him close to yourself. Ho na dev niyara, never let him go far away. Ho na dev niyara, sadho nindak mitra hamara. Oh sadhu, a nindak, a critic is our dear friend. Now please continue to hear, dear devotees. पाछे निंदा करी अघ धोवे, सुनी मन मिटे बेकारा. पाछे निंदा करी अघ धोवे, criticizing us behind our backs, he washes our sins. Suni man mite bikara. Acha, what sins does he wash away? Previously, we have committed a negative activity of critiquing somebody else. Now, this person is critiquing us behind our back. He is washing away that negative reaction. And suni man mite bikara. As soon as we hear this person critiqued us behind our back, we are immediately interested to know what was his criticism. Oh, his criticism was that, he does not wake up at time. So immediately we will make effort to wake up at correct time. Suni man mite vikara. As soon as we hear this criticism, our mind starts becoming cleansed of that fault. जैसे सोना ताप अग्नि में निर्मल करे सोनारा. जैसे सोना ताप अग्नि में, just like by putting gold in a blazing fire, nirmal kare sonara, a goldsmith purifies gold. Nirmal kare sonara, sadho निंदक मित्र हमारा. In that way, O sadhu, a nindak, a critic is our dear friend. घन अहरन कसी हीरा निबटे कीमत लक्ष हजारा. घन अहरन कसी हीरा निबटे. A jeweler applies harsh friction to a diamond to polish it. Why? कीमत लक्ष हजारा. Because unless you polish a diamond very much, its value doesn't increase to millions. Similarly, ऐसे जाचत दुष्ट संत को करन जगत उजियारा. In a similar way, a critic puts a saint through a severe test. Why? To reveal the value of that saint to the world. Karan jagat ujiyara sadho nindak mitra hamara. Dear devotees, further he says, Jog jagya jap papa katan hetu kare sakal samsara. The entire world engages in yoga, ashtanga yoga, jagya, sacrifices, japa, chanting of mantras, papa katana hitu, in order to destroy their sins. But here, O sadhu, bin karani mama karma kathina sab mete nindak pyara. How dear, pyara, how dear is my critic to me, for he destroys all my hardened sins without me doing any of these practices. Yoga, japa, sacrifices. My critic simply takes all of my negative reactions from me simply by critiquing me. Why will such a critic not be dear to me? Mete nindak pyara sadho nindak mitra hamara. Sadhu, such a critic is our dear friend. Now it is very important, dear devotees, to not have any grudges in our heart towards a critic. It is very important that we not only forgive the critic, but we also think positively of the critic. Therefore, Shri Charan Das speaks the next stanza, and this is perhaps the best stanza of the entire song. Sukhi raho निंदक जग माही रोग न हो तन सारा. Sukhi raho nindak jag mahi. May my critic be peaceful and happy in this world. Rog na ho tan sara. May my critic's body never be afflicted by any diseases. And finally he says, हमरे नंदा करने वाला उतरे भवनिधि पारा. हमरी निंदा करने वाला, may the person criticizing me, उतरे भवनिधि पारा, cross over the ocean of material existence. Sadho, nindak mitra hamara. O saintly soul, this critic is indeed our dear friend. So may this critic live long. And in fact, may this critic cross over the ocean of birth and death. Let's pray for my critic, because he was my best friend. Finally, he says, निंदक के चरणों की स्तुति भाखों बारंबारा. निंदक के चरणन की स्तुति, the glories of the holy feet of the critic, भाखों बारंबारा, should be narrated again and again repeatedly. चरण दास कहे सुनिए साधो निंदक साधक भारा. Charanadas kahe, Charanadas says, Suniye sadhu, listen sadhu, listen carefully. Nindak sadhak bhara. The critic is extremely important. You don't want to be a sadhu surrounded by sycophants, surrounded by yes men always. The nindak, the critic, is most important. Therefore, nindak sadhak bhara, the critic is very important. Sadhu nindak mitra hamara. Sadhu, the critic, is actually a very good friend of ours. Very good friend. And dear devotees, therefore, once again, I'd like to take it back to the previous slide. Always pray. Sukhi raho nindak jag mahe, rog na ho tan sara. Hamari ninda karne wala, utre bhavanidhi para. Sadho nindak mitra hamara. May the person critiquing me cross over the ocean of material existence. This is the best attitude that a sadhu can have. This will free us not only from the undue criticism. People will see that we are free mentally from the effects of the criticism. Also, we will have no grudges towards the critic. We will be free in our heart, and that is what is within our control. And as I specified last time, whatever is within somebody else's control is a source of misery, and whatever is in our control is a source of happiness. In our control is to forgive the critic. In our control is to personally not be affected. This particular paragraph that Shri Charan Das has said is what Krishna was specifying. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. Dukkha samyoga will happen. Contact with dukkha will happen. Contact with the critic will happen. But viyogam, becoming free, is in our hands. In this way, in a very holistic way, we become free from the pain that the critic has caused us. And the song by Sadhu Charan Das is such a wonderful song that, I consider it one of the best songs to be heard again and again, especially in circumstances when we have been critiqued. Dear devotees, I will end with a Subhashit, and this Subhashit verse is attributed to Bhartrihari. And this verse shows the attitude of the sadhu. This verse is in the meter Malini. I will sing the verse. Please hear carefully. Dadatu dadatu galim galimanto bhavantah vayamapi tadabhavad galidane samartha jagati viditameta diyate vidyamanam nahi shashaka vishanam kopi kasmai dadati. Dadatu dadatu galim. Oh critics, dadatu dadatu galim. Give me as many words of criticism and abuse that you can. Galimanto bhavanto. You are full of galis. You are full of criticism. You can definitely give me the gift of criticism. But vayamapi tadabhava. I, on the other hand, am unable to give you any critical words in return. Why? Why won't you take revenge? Jagati viditameta. It is well known in the world that we can only give something to someone if we personally possess it. So I can only accuse you of something if it comes genuinely from within my heart. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, if I critique him, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, you are cruel. It has come from, I am giving him some criticism, I am giving him some bad words. I can only give him something if it exists in my heart. Cruelty exists in my heart, and therefore I am accusing him of cruelty. If cruelty wouldn't exist in my heart, how could I have given him the gift of, being called a cruel person? Jagati viditam etat. It is very well known in the world that we can only give something to someone if we personally possess it. Nobody can give something to others if they don't have it themselves. Shashaka Vishanam. Just as nobody can gift the horns of a rabbit to another person, because a rabbit doesn't have any horns, dear devotees. In this way, a devotee happily tolerates, and not only does he happily tolerate, a devotee mentally becomes detached from the suffering. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. And a devotee, in fact, starts looking upon the critic as a person helplessly bound by his previous nature, his previous activities. And the devotee sees the critic as a friend who is helping the devotee understand a very important lesson. The first lesson, I should never behave with anyone like this. The second lesson, that this particular individual is helping me get rid of my past negativity. In this way, we become free from this aparadh of criticizing others. And this aparadh is the durdaivam īdṛśam, ihājani nānurāgaḥ. I could not develop attachment for Harinam because I had this aparadh. And the critic helped me get rid of my aparadh. Thank you so much to that wonderful critic who helped me get rid of that aparadh. Dear devotees, this is the attitude of the sadhu. Thank you once again, dear devotees. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushtavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If there's any mistake in what I spoke, vidvam saha, you are learned devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushtavam kinchit. If there's anything nice in what I said, please know that tad guroreva, it belongs to my gurujanas. Me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much once again, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol! Thank you so much, dear Hari Parshad Prabhu, for a very striking and enlightening class. It's such a relevant topic for everyone, isn't it?
Yes, certainly. And only after being personally affected by it could I speak something with realization. Otherwise, I would have only spoken out of theory. But it's only after going through the suffering that we come out on the other side more mature. As I said previously, suffering gives us the gift of maturity. And it is only the critic who gave us this gift of suffering and maturity. So all credit to the critic.
And so you're giving us the proven methods that have worked for you and are based on Shastra and will work for us also. So thank you so much for that. Very grateful for your time to put together these wonderful classes, and your incredible consistency and depth is really wonderful. And so we're going to go to questions and answers now. If you are watching from YouTube and you'd like to join us live, we actually have an email address that you can send your information to. I will share it on the screen. It's Siksastakam.hpd@gmail.com. Just go ahead and pause your video. You can write that down, and then you just want to send your WhatsApp number and country code, and we can add you to our WhatsApp group where we send out the information for our live meetings. We have some guidelines for our questions and answers that we go over each time, just as a friendly reminder. The first one is that even though Hari Parshad Prabhu is such a consummate scholar, and there's so many valid and important questions that we would like to ask him, we have a limited amount of time and a lot of devotees, and so we have to maintain some focus just to keep things practical. And so we ask that you please only ask questions related to today's class. The second one is that this is a platform for philosophical discussion. It's not a platform for trying to hold other people or institutions accountable to what we think they should or should not do. And so we ask that you please do not ask loaded questions about any particular person or institution. The second one is we want to make sure that we have time for everyone, and so it's not feasible to have a um, ongoing dialogue with Hari Parshad Prabhu while others wait. We don't want to extend anyone's time for so long that it's unfair to others. And so if you have more than one question, please just ask one at a time and then get back in line. If you have a small follow-up, not to continue the topic of your inquiry, but to clarify the answer you got, then you can ask a clarifying question as a follow-up, but not a follow-up that opens up further investigation or inquiry. So one question at a time or wait another turn. And lastly, questions that require in-depth research. Hari Parsha Prabhu might be able to answer on the spot because he's quite skilled at that, but there might be instances where we ask you to put it in the WhatsApp group so that it can be addressed later after due investigation. And lastly, this is informal setting, and so we ask that we just keep things informal and non-institutional and personal. So, anything else, Hari Prasha Prabhu?
Well, I love the fact that these are just 4 or 5 points, but you managed to put it in a different way every time. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I'd also like to wish all the devotees a very joyous Balaram Purnima, and I hope that all of you have a very great time. And I'm sorry I couldn't wish in the beginning, but I wish all the devotees a very joyous Balaram Purnima. And I sincerely pray for the well-being, health, and bhajan and seva of all the wonderful devotees who are attending as well as those who are not attending. Thank you so much. Let's begin.
Thank you, thank you. So our first question is from Vishvarupa Prabhu.
Bro, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your class. It was really great class today. My question is, Prabhu, suppose we are critiquing philosophy that someone follows, but within friends or within any circle, but we are not taking the name of the person like about whom we are talking. So we are not like disclosing the identity of the person whom we are talking about, but the philosophy they follow or the way they act or something like that. If we are critiquing that, will that also be considered ninda in the part of the person who is critiquing?
No, this is not going to be considered as ninda because you are critiquing the philosophy. You are not critiquing the character of a particular person. And the previous acharyas also have engaged in critiquing uh, philosophies in this particular manner. And for example, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has specified this in many places in his literature, where he's critiquing various philosophies such as materialism. At one point of time, he also starts critiquing a few facets of Christianity, where he says that it is not logical that one person should die for the sins of so many people in the world. So he's critiquing certain philosophies, but he doesn't take specific names of specific people or specific institutions or persons. But it becomes very obvious that he is critiquing certain particular philosophies, though not naming them directly. So that is something which previous acharyas have done. So that is all right. But slandering somebody's character is not okay. That is the answer to the question.
Just a small follow-up. If we are also discussing about some specific qualities of the character of a person, but again, we are not.
Prabhuji, is this a second question? Because it doesn't sound like a clarifying question.
Not a second question, Prabhu, just a small yes and no
All right,
type.
all right, all right, all right.
It's the second question, but go ahead.
All right, all right. Yeah.
Yes, so Prabhuji, if we are not disclosing the identity again, just we are discussing about the quality of someone, the character of someone. So that is also Ninda, right? Or not Ninda?
See, the character of a particular person may be good, may not be good. The main thing is the philosophy propagated by a particular person should be examined very carefully. Often the greatest problems are not within, may not be within the character of the founder. The greatest problems are found within the philosophy that they propagate. And the philosophy, obviously, they propagate is influenced by their personal character. But still, it is always better to analyze the philosophy rather than get into somebody's personal character. As much as possible, we should try to avoid getting into somebody's personal character, because that definitely hurts the followers of that particular individual. So that is what can be said at this particular point of time.
Thank you so much.
Next we have Vamshi Dhari Gopal Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my Dandavat Pranam. All the Vaishnavas, assembled Vaishnavas also. Thank you so much Prabhuji for once again such an enlightening class. And this is not only with respect to society, but even in our day-to-day life, even if somebody is not devotee, they are faced with all these three situations: aggressor, witness, and victim of the criticism, and which destroy so many relationships and families and everything. So grateful to you for explaining this all in great detail. So my question is related to the Bhagavad Gita verse which you explained, like dukham, samyogam, viyogam. So if everything is as per the providence and we are going through some suffering due to that, so we know that Sanyogam has come, so in due course, Viyogam will also come if Providence desires.
Right.
So what should be our attitude during that time, whether we should act on it, take some, as you said, like external help also come by the Providence, and that is also factor into it. So
Right.
what should be our attitude while going through that phase? Should we seek or do something on our own, or we should just accept it as a Providence will and just wait for the time to remove that suffering from our life? Or how do we practically detach ourselves from the effects of it?
All right, wonderful question. So when we are going through suffering, and the amount of suffering is also, as it is specified, is given by Providence.
Right.
And it is at a specific time one will also become detached from that suffering by Providence. There is no doubt about it. Because time will definitely separate you from all sufferings.
Right.
Suffering is also asat. Asat means it is anadi, it is adi antavanta. It has a beginning, it has an end.
Right.
Let's take the classic example of the suffering of the Avanti Brahmana. Because for the acts that he committed in this life, in his life, he suffered in that very life. So that is a very good example to take from the 11th canto. It is specified in Avanti Brahmana that he was so hard-hearted and miserly. His sons, in-laws, wife began to feel inimical towards him. And they would never treat him with affection. Then, the deities also became angry with him, and he had no good destination in this world and in this next. And then the neglect of the devatas depleted his stock of piety and wealth. The accumulation of repeated exhaustive endeavors was totally lost. He lost all his piety by his bad behavior. Next, the result starts coming. Some of the wealth of this Brahmana was taken away by his relatives, some by thieves, some by Providence. Actually, everything was by Providence. If you see, ultimately everything was by Providence. But some of it was taken away by relatives. Providence was acting through the relative. Providence was acting through the thief. Providence was acting through time. Some was taken by ordinary men and some by government authorities. Finally, when his property was completely lost, He who never engaged in religiosity or sense enjoyment became ignored. Thus, he began to feel unbearable anxiety. Now comes dukkha samyoga. I hope you're able to. This is the exact point where dukkha samyoga happened. Right? Now we can identify this. Wonderful. Then he having lost all his wealth, he felt great pain and lamentation. Now you can see the after effects of dukkha samyoga. His throat choked up with tears. He meditated for a long time on his fortune. Then viyoga automatically happened. A powerful feeling of renunciation came over him. So this is dukkha samyoga viyoga. I hope you are able to understand. Now, each and every one of us is going to go through one instance of dukkha samyoga, and because of not being able to do anything, it will take its time. Let's say a very close family member suddenly leaves their body. Dukkha samyoga. Now there's nothing we can do about it. Only time will gradually heal. So time will ensure that after a few years there will be viyoga to a great extent. Dukkha samyoga viyoga. After going through one such experience, the intelligent yogi will understand that I should not have to suffer again. I should not have to suffer like this again. And this was this thought also came to the Avanti Brahmana. Avanti Brahmana also decided, I have suffered once dukkha samyoga viyoga, but next time I will ensure that dukkha samyoga viyoga happens immediately. So Avanti Brahman started analyzing, in the earning of wealth, attainment of wealth, protection of wealth, all men experience great fear, anxiety, and delusion. And then he finally asked one very simple question to himself, that which comes a few verses later. The Avanti Brahmana says, what mortal having achieved human life will willingly become attached to material property? And then finally, he asks a very important question, which is this: why must an intelligent man suffer by his constant efforts to attain wealth? Indeed, this whole world is bewildered by someone's potential. Now, here is where he decides, why must an intelligent man? I suffered once. Why should I suffer again? Yes. So this is where he becomes a yogi. Previously, he was not acting as a yogi. So dukkha samyoga viyoga happened by effect of time. Next time dukkha samyoga happens, viyoga will happen not by time. Viyoga will happen by his yoga. So next suffering came when people spat upon him, when people took away his food, when people kicked him, when people angrily chastised him. That is, at that particular point of time, Avanti Brahman had already attained yoga, and by Bhagavan's mercy. So after one experience, an intelligent person should know the act of dukkha samyoga viyogam. This is the entire lesson to be learned through the episode of Avanti Brahman. So I hope that clarifies. Right?
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you so very much. So just to repeat what I understood, that the first occurrence of a particular type of suffering may take its own due course of time to get rid of, because we are the first time facing it, so we don't know the ins and outs of it, and we don't understand how to deal with it. But by that experience will give us intelligence, so that next time it happens, we already know, and we can avoid its effect. So that the suffering would still be the same externally, but we will not get affected because of it, because we already knew that it happened in past and how we got overcome through it. So this the time I'm not going to affect myself. I remain situated in my whatever thing I am.
Wonderful. This is very correct. Another thing is, usually in one's life, there is one suffering which is the greatest of all suffering. And everybody knows in their respective life, this one suffering is perhaps the greatest suffering that I am going to carry.
Right.
And for some people, this suffering is, it is, we are so helpless that we can't even speak to another person that
Right.
this is the suffering I'm going through.
Right.
If we are able to come out of that suffering through proper understanding of Bhagavad Gita, Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, if you are able to defeat that suffering, then you will easily defeat all other sufferings in life. This is called Pradhan Malla Nyaya, wrestling the strongest wrestler and defeating the strongest wrestler. After defeating the strongest wrestler, you will easily defeat the weaker ones. So, identify the Pradhan Malla, the strongest suffering in your life. And if you are able to do Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam for that suffering, then you are a yogi, definitely. All other sufferings will be comparatively lesser. All right?
Lesser.
That's all right.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah, because sometimes we get so much bogged down just in overthinking and over paralyzed ourselves, but this understanding will definitely help us keep going.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I offer a brief comment first?
Sure.
You said that although we suffered something that happened to us, we shouldn't suffer again.
Yeah.
By the way that we hold on to it. And it reminded me of the word resentment.
Right.
Because if you break it down etymologically, re means again and sentiment means feeling. So it actually means to feel something again.
Right.
And it's what happens when we felt some initial pain, but we refuse to accept that. And so rather than facing that feeling and healing ourselves, setting protective boundaries, we instead attach ourselves to blame against the other person.
Right.
And we become very absorbed in trying to prove that they're wrong and they're bad and they should have done things differently. And the longer that we hold on to this, the longer that we re-suffer the initial wound because we're replaying it in our minds. We're thinking about revenge, and our whole life can be consumed by just meditating constantly on that person.
Right.
And in this way, it's resentment, feeling the suffering again. It's like
wonderful.
You're hurting yourself more than they ever hurt you in a way.
Yeah. Therefore, especially in the context of somebody critiquing us, this approach by Charan Das, it is so nice because unless you come to peace with the person who's causing you suffering, mentally you come to peace with the person who's causing you suffering, you are never truly free of the suffering and you keep resenting. Therefore, that song by Sadhu Charan Das, it brings you to peace with the person who's critiquing you. And that is what finally frees us from that particular suffering. So exactly the same thing that you're saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. All right. I have an objection, and I'd like to hear your feedback.
Sure.
I felt like we would have to accept Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's words as some exaggeration or hyperbole and towards the effect of everything being fatalistic.
Right.
And I have three specific objections to how far he went with things being deterministic and fatalistic.
Right.
One is that him giving the instruction implies that we have the free will to act on it.
Right.
If we didn't, then there'd be no need to give the instruction because fate would make us try to reform the world anyway.
Yeah.
The second is that if we're simply impelled by something outside of ourselves and we had no choice over the matter and then we have to suffer as a result, then that would mean that God's cruel for putting us in such a position. And the third would be that Bhaktisiddhanta is being critical in making the statement himself.
Right.
And so would you agree that unless we take his statements as some hyperbole, that it becomes philosophically inconsistent?
So what is the first object? Let's go one by one. What's the first objection?
Him giving us an instruction assumes that we have the free will to accept an instruction and apply it. And if we have the free will to be instructed and change our behavior, then that means not everything is fatalistic.
Right. It's not that the entire world is being controlled by, we are being controlled like robots without any free will. We are being controlled, we are being heavily influenced, but not fully controlled. The heavy influence is coming from our samskars from previous life. And Bhagavan is simply nourishing everybody's previous influences. We have the freedom, the exact freedom is to go against our previous tendencies. That freedom we have even today. So the freedom is that we can get influenced by another sadhu and go against the influence that Bhagavan is giving us. So Bhagavan may be influencing us, go become a critic, criticize this person. And the sadhu's words may be telling us, don't do it. We have the freedom to select the sadhu's words over Bhagavan's influence that Bhagavan is giving from our previous, by seeing our previous tendencies. Now, Bhagavan is not biased. This is a classical topic in Vedanta. Bhagavan is not biased. There is a sutra in Vedanta Sutra, Vaishamya Nirghrinyena Tatha cha Sapekshatva Tatha hi darshayati. There is a sutra in Vedanta Sutra which says that Bhagavan is not biased or cruel. Bhagavan is parjanyavat, like rainfall. Rainfall falls equally everywhere in the town. At one place, a cactus plant grows. At another place, a lotus grows. This is the rainfall simply acts as a catalyst for the growth of the seed. Similarly, Bhagavan simply fans our previous tendencies. We still have the freedom to go against our own previous tendencies by the influence of another sadhu. And whether we want to listen to that sadhu or not want to listen to that sadhu is completely up to us. That is where our freedom lies. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I totally accept your answer. And just to clarify what I understood you saying is that if we somehow get the impression, hearing the quotes that you presented from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada at the beginning of the class, if we get the impression that he's saying that the world is absolutely deterministic, if we get the impression that he's saying the world is absolute fatalism where we have zero free will and we should just accept everything, that would be a misunderstanding.
Yes.
It's just, like you said, we're heavily influenced.
Right.
But there's still opportunity for us to change the course of our lives or even the course of the lives of other people by accepting the truth.
Right.
And even going against our own inclinations.
Yeah. A chain smoker is heavily influenced by Bhagavan to smoke again. But a chain smoker can listen to the words of a sadhu and go against his own previous tendencies and go against the inspiration of Bhagavan to smoke again. And in this way, overcome his own previous tendencies. It is Bhagavan who inspires people in positive or negative directions, because people should not take this as something out of Shastra. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.15 purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the Kaushitaki Brahman Upanishad, and I am going to share my screen so that we can have a look at this. Prabhupada quotes, the Vedic hymns therefore declare, Esha uhyeva sadhu karma karayati tam yamebhyo lokebhyo unninishate Esha u eva sadhu karma karayati yam adhoninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities and the Lord engages him in impious activities. So it is not that engages like a robot, but heavily influences the living entity. So Bhagavan is the influencer, but the living entity also has independent power of influencing itself. That is what can be said.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have a question from Samarpana Gopa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for that song. Song was very wonderful and presentation. Actually, I had a clarification about this Pandava Gita, Prabhu, because once in one of my classes, someone quoted that, and I tried to search the originality and authenticity of this, and I found I could not find actually. And
Right.
who is the author and all that. And there are so many verses from here, there, it seems collected together, and
Yeah.
Uvacha is put. So since you are quoting seems something authentic, so can you please clarify? Because I ended up having some negative interaction with the person who quoted Pandav Gita actually. So I need to
Okay.
beg forgiveness from him.
All right, sure. No problem, Prabhuji. See, I usually Pandav Gita is also quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami at one point of time. So this is Pandav Gita. You can see the verse in Devanagari. Ekopi Krishnasya Kritaha Pranamo Dashashvamedha Vabhritaina Tulyah Dashashvamedhi Punareti Janma Krishna Pranamina Punarbhavaya. The meaning is that anybody who gives one obeisances to Krishna is greater than a person who has performed 10 Ashwamedh Yagyas, because a person who performs 10 Ashwamedh Yagyas attains rebirth, but a person who gives one pranam to Shri Krishna, there is a possibility that he will not attain rebirth. So this verse is from the Pandav Gita originally. Srila Rupa Goswami quotes this verse in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. I will show this verse to you from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. I will share my screen from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Dashashwamedhi. Yeah. So this is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. I am sharing my screen. You can see here, Ekopi Krishnasya Kritaha Pranamo Dashashwamedhava Bhritayarna Tulyah Dashashwamedhi Punareti Janma Krishna Pranamina Punarbhavaya. The same verse from which is quoted in the Pandav Gita is also quoted by Sri Rupa Goswami 1.2.130 Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So many verses there are. The main thing is the Pandav Gita may be a compilation of verses from multiple Puranas, maybe like that. But the verses are more or less accepted as coming from genuine sources. Maybe a collection of verses from various Puranas. Some place Subhadra said something, some place Abhimanyu said something, some Purana somebody said something to Krishna, and they collected all of that and put it in one compilation called Pandav Gita. So that is all, nothing else. Nobody has taken a big objection against Pandav Gita. You have a small follow-up question to that? Yes, let's unmute Samarpan Gopa Prabhu for a small follow-up question.
Sorry, I think can you raise your hand again?
I've
Oh,
unmuted him. Yeah.
okay,
Yes,
thank you.
so I also did find so many verses in that which are there in there, but the Uvacha someone has put that. Who is the author? I try to find out, but
Okay.
because who is speaking is a very essential thing when it comes to. So it is not spoken in Bhagavatam. That verse is not spoken by that person, and in Pandav Gita that
This
is
is for
spoken like that.
Okay.
So that's why I was little doubtful about authenticity. Like Duryodhan is speaking something very nice, There are like this verse is okay in terms of karma.
Yeah.
So that way.
Yeah, sure. I'm sometimes when there is no way of determining whether some literature is, you can't determine either whether it is a collection of verses from multiple sources or whether it's a complete fabrication. At least it's not a complete fabrication because the verses you can find in other literature. All right. So we know it's not a fabrication. The maximum it is that it's a compilation. And maybe somebody has attributed the verses to Duryodhan, etc. That's all right. The content is all right. Maybe the attribution may not always be accurate, but the content is all right. And can leave it at that. I hope that satisfies. Right? Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have a question from Shivanshu Tiwari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Parshad Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna to all devotees.
Perhaps.
Thank you, Hare Parshad Prabhu, for very detailed session and especially the song that you shared at the end and the verse that was very cryptic and very, very useful.
Thank you.
I had the question regarding the point of putting efforts in changing the world.
Right.
Like in this connection, there is a very famous verse from Chaitanya-Charitamrita often quoted. The verse is that Janma sarthak kari kar par uppkar.
Right.
in this connection, what does upkar exactly means? Like what Mahaprabhu means by upkar, what he means by upkar here.
Sure. So even though Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said Bharat Bhumi Te Haila Manushya Janma Yar Janma Sarthaka Kari Kara Paropkar, those who are born in Bharat Bhumi, they should first make their own life successful and then after that they should engage in benefiting others by distributing Krishna Prem, because once life becomes perfect by Krishna Prem, and then this Krishna Prem should be given to others. Now, even though Mahaprabhu has said this, you will still find there are many people who will do Janma Sarthak Kari. They will make their own life a success, but they'll become a Bhajananandi. They'll not engage so much in Paropkar. And then there are some people who have not done Janma Sarthak. They have not made their own life successful, but they are on a mission for Paropkar, although they don't have it themselves. And then there are some chosen few one who will not only make their lives perfect, but also will do Paropkar, benefit others. In this way, at the end of the day, finally, whatever Bhagavan has decided, that is what is going to happen. So just because Mahaprabhu has said it's not going to change the course which Bhagavan had himself decided for the world. So the world is running according to the perfect arrangement of Bhagavan. Bhagavan sometimes makes the world appear that it is swaying in this direction, sometimes it sways in that direction. However, all of that is already decided by Bhagavan. Bhagavan heavily influences people in this direction or that direction. According to that, people seem to be acting. So that there's nothing out of the box here. That is what I'd like to say. Right?
Last class you used the phrase para apakar.
Yeah, parapakar. That was
So that
the
would mean
opposite.
acting against others.
Yeah.
Apa against kara, acting, and then upa
Yes.
would be for and kara.
Yes.
So acting
Yeah.
for others versus acting against others.
Yes. Apa means sending away, and upa means bringing close. So upakar means acting in such a way that people come close to you. Apakar means acting in such a way that they are sent away from you. So that.
Next we have Kriparama Prabhu.
Dandavad Hari Parshad Prabhu, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, and all the Vaishnavas. In the class, it is made clear that we should be grateful to those who criticize us because they help grow spiritually us, but if his person behavior affects the devotees or people who are close to us or our congregation, it is right for us to abandon this person association.
If somebody is critiquing us and their criticism is affecting the congregation, then we can tell the congregation, well, since the criticism is about me, I will personally, I don't want to do anything. But if all of you are feeling so affected by it, all of you can get together and decide to do something. But I will not act as the initiator of any particular action against this person. If all of you feel, you have the freedom to do whatever you think is beneficial for your bhajan, for your seva. But since the criticism is leveled against me, I will not act as the person who is going to take any action. So that can be said. That will keep our character clean. That will keep our sadhuness clean, and that will keep the entire role and responsibility will be upon the people who are affected by it. So that is how it can be dealt with. So I hope that answers the question.
It's very clear. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, is it the case sometimes that someone might be doing something and they don't realize it bothers us because we don't say anything? And it would actually be helpful to let people know what our boundaries are. Otherwise, they assume it's all right.
That if somebody is innocent, it doesn't even know that we are being affected by it, then we can give them a gentle suggestion that, it is slightly disturbing me. But today's presentation is about somebody who is a critic who takes vicarious pleasure in criticism. That is what today's presentation was about. If somebody is innocent, we can tell them, see, perhaps, you can You can change your behavior in such. Please consider this. There's nothing wrong in saying that. But if somebody is taking vicarious pleasure in criticism, and if we go and tell them, perhaps, please, can you change your behavior? Then they'll come to know that we are being affected by it. And then they'll do it all the more. So therefore, we should distinguish between somebody who's ignorant and somebody who's taking vicarious pleasure in criticism. So that is what I'd like to say.
It's a great distinction. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry to jump in. Next we have Nritya Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hari Parshad Prabhu, Dandavats Pranam. And then Dandavats Pranam to all the devotees. Such a wonderful class, as usual. And especially the song of Charanadas. So my question is related to the sufferings that we undergo. Like, as you mentioned, that criticism, everybody might go through this part once in their lifetime. So my question is, and one more point you mentioned is the happiness and the sufferings is already ordained in your life. Yeah. So if say, like, I'll give an example and then go to the question. Like, for some people, like especially some mothers who are delivering the babies, in order to minimize the pain they go through epidural to minimize the pain. Or somebody going through a severe pain, they take more painkillers to reduce the pain. Yeah. So in our lives also, when we are going through certain instances, following some scripture, some people may think that, okay, can I just go through, check my horoscope, do some kind of some pujas to minimize the effect of that suffering. So if it is already, the amount of suffering is ordained, then are our attempts to minimize the sufferings by going through this process, is it appropriate, or should we go, should we not go? What is your comments on it?
All right. So the answer to this I'm going to explain it in two ways. One is for those who are not devotees. Those who are not devotees, when some suffering comes, and then they have various ways by which they can reduce the suffering or altogether get rid of the suffering, avoid the suffering. All those external help is also included in the providence. So that I specified in the verse that I had specified in the class. I will once again go to that verse so that we will come to know what particular the external help is also included in the providence. And I think you may be remembering this verse. This is what I had specified in the class. Sasa sampadyate buddhihi samatihi sacha bhavana sahayas tādṛṣā eva yādṛṣī bhavitavyata. So any external help is also aligned according to the degree of happiness and suffering that you are going to get. And you will be helplessly attracted to that external help. You will go running to that external help. All right. So that is definitely going to happen. For in the case of a devotee, when a devotee takes some external help, the devotee takes some help from a process which is not bhakti. For example, karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, Jyotish, astrology, etc. The devotee can take help from external sources, but the devotee should take those external sources as assistants to bhakti. So that is called Sangha Siddha Bhakti by Srila Jiva Goswami. What is Sangha Siddha Bhakti? When you take karma and jnana to be assistants of your bhakti, and you don't let them overpower your understanding of bhakti. You don't think that if this was not there, my bhakti could not have helped me. So that is jnana karma adi anavritam. Your bhakti should not become covered by other philosophies, other solutions in life. That is when it is uttama bhakti. So under the supervision, under the shelter of bhakti, other processes can act as assistants. And this is what Srila Jiva Goswami calls Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Sangha Siddha Bhakti is when you use other processes such as karma, jnana, etc. to assist your bhakti, but never let them overpower your bhakti. So that is what can be said in this regard. I hope that answers your question.
Right? Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Next we have Vikrama Keshari Prabhu, and your
Manisha
name,
Mataji.
Mataji?
Manisha
Manisha Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna to all the assembled devotees, Dandavat Pranams, and thank you for the wonderful class. My question is about you mentioned in today's session the pain when we receive criticism of someone else. And I also noticed in my life that there is some amount of pain when we do criticism towards ourselves.
Right.
How to deal to this criticism towards ourselves and forgive ourselves what we done in the past and what was, bad, what we did.
Right. Whatever we did in the past, a mistake that we committed in the past, we may become critical of ourselves and we may tremendously regret whatever we have done. At the same time, our regret and our self-criticism should not become so much that it starts affecting our bhakti. Even our own criticism should be such that it should assist our bhakti. Because bhakti can help us get rid of any negativity from the past. And at the same time, in English, it is called self-sabotage. If we start indulging in self-sabotage, that means that we purposely harm ourselves mentally by constantly being negative towards our own self. We are harming our bhakti. And the characteristic of Uttama Bhakti is Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam, always remaining favorable towards Krishna. And we remain favorable towards Krishna by also remaining favorable towards ourselves, by having hope that we will attain Krishna, by not being overly negative. One of the 64 limbs of bhakti is to be positive and happy. And I might have spoken that previously many times. It is Shokadi Avashavartita. I think it is limb number 16 or 17 of Uttama Bhakti. That one should not become overwhelmed by dejection, self-negativity, etc. So if one's own self is causing one to become negative towards one's own self, one should give up such criticism and instead one should associate with a sadhu who will help us come out of this dejection and who will encourage us on the path of bhakti. That is the best thing to do. Srila Prabhupada also said on one letter, I don't have the exact words, I'll try to find it. If this depression and suppression is going against your bhakti, then this depression must also be given up. Something like that he wrote in one letter. So I have read that. So this similar advice should, don't be so hard on yourself that you lose your favorability towards bhakti. That advice can be given here. I hope that helps to some degree. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Sachinandana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Parshad Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu. Thank you so much for your seva. My question, Prabhuji, thank you so much, first of all, for such a beautiful class and also sharing this song. My question is related to criticism when it happens to us. So previously in many classes, you have mentioned that we should associate with Sajatiya Snigdha devotees or Sahirday devotees who are like-minded and affectionate to us. But it seems like this song by Shri Charan Das is almost like a higher level of accepting criticism where he's saying, keep it near me.
Yeah.
So we're trying to, I guess, like you said in the previous question, not have like shonk, not have this depression that might come due to criticism in our practice of bhakti. But then on the other hand, we're hearing that we should almost like he becomes our friend, like he's saying. So I guess my question is how do we sort of balance this desire not to associate with those who criticize us versus hearing it in a proper way?
All right. So wonderful. If you allow the critic into your life and give him a free hand, he can ruin your life. And in the sense that, he can sabotage everything that you're doing. So the point is, Shri Charan Das is not saying about direct association with the critic. The critic has leveled some allegations against you, and that mental image of the critic is within you. Now, keep that mental image, those allegations that he or she has leveled against you, and in that mental image of the critic, understand that this particular critic has some purpose in your life. Let him or her serve that purpose for the purpose of removing your negativity, for the purpose of removing your past karma. Let the critic act his or her part. Till that point, the critic is our friend. Till that point only, the critic is our friend. The critic is not going to become a sahriday, a person like-minded to us at any point of time. The critic is not going to replace the value and the importance of the guru who is like-minded to us. But the critic is playing a very important sahakari role, assistant role. And an assistant role is a limited role. And in that limited role, the critic is our friend. Beyond that, we are not going to allow the critic in our life, because the critic doesn't actually desire our benefit. The critic desires our fall down. But the allegation that the critic has made has helped us in two ways. The first way is it has helped us realize that we should not behave in a similar way towards others. The second way it has helped us is, after removing all the personal stuff from it, is there any truth to the allegation? Then let's analyze that and let's get rid of it. And in this way, the critic has helped us. So in that limited way, the critic is our friend. And so the critic also should get something from us, because the critic has helped us. So yes, he or she should get something from us. What should the critic get from us? That hamri ninda karne wala utre bhav nidhi para. That anybody who criticizes us, let him go beyond the ocean of birth and death. This is my prayer for the critic. So in your mind, in your heart, you should pray. We should pray. May my critic remain happy in this world. At a distance, may he remain happy. May his body not be afflicted by any disease. And may my critic cross over the ocean of birth and death. In this way, limited friendship also has such benefits. So in this way, we also become a sadhu, because any association with a sadhu should lead to liberation of a person, even if that person is a critic. That is what can be said, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So just take the lesson, wish him well or wish her well, and move on.
Yes,
I would say
that is the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next we have Svarupani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sadar Pranam, all glories to Sri Lord Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. I think you have answered my question to some of the other people have already asked. My only follow-up is, can we stay away from such from such people, letting go of the criticism, knowing all the subject matter that you have told us, knowing well in our heart and letting go, but can we also keep a safe distance? Because I am surrounded by a non-devotee family and criticisms often happen. So this is coming from a non-devotee. So is it okay to stay away so that we can progress in our Krishna consciousness, not affecting our bhakti?
Sure.
Or is it also like, should we also still make friendship in close contact with them?
Okay. So staying away is good. You can stay away from them. But if staying away means running away, that is another problem. Because sooner or later, there is going to be some contact with them again. You don't have to make friends with them, but you have to be prepared for a situation wherein you come in contact with the source of negativity again. So that is what I was saying. Krishna says dukkha samyoga. Dukkha samyoga means some contact with the source of unhappiness will happen by providence. And viyoga, you should be prepared for a situation when you accidentally come in contact with them again. They may level another criticism, and then you should be prepared how to detach your mind from the suffering that ensues from that criticism. You don't have to go embrace your suffering. No. But if suffering comes by providence, you should know how to unembrace the effects of that suffering. So that is what Krishna is telling. Krishna is not telling us to be, what is it called? To be a person who inflicts wounds on their own self. There is a term for that in English. Krishna is not asking us to harm our own selves by embracing suffering. Krishna is saying
masochist. Masochist.
Yeah, maybe that is the term. Yeah. So
sorry to interrupt, Prabhupada.
Sadist. Krishna is not asking us.
I think sadist is for hurting other people.
Other people, yeah. So
Yeah.
Krishna is not asking us to act in a sadistic way towards ourselves. What Krishna is asking is, providence will ensure that you come in contact with dukkha. Providence will ensure. And there is a very nice verse by Srila Sridhar Swami. I will show you this verse. He is quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam. He has commentary. He is said in this commentary to 1.5.18, Aprarthitani dukkhani yathaivayanti dehinam sukhani api tathamanye dainyamatrati richyate. Just as distresses arrive in one's life even without asking for them, similarly happiness also arrives without asking for it. So you don't have to go embrace distress, or you don't have to go and try to make friends with them. But you have to be prepared for a situation wherein by providence you come in contact with them again, and then some negativity flares up, and then you are prepared to handle that negativity. So that is what you have to be prepared for. If you are prepared for that, then you have mastered the art of dukkha samyoga viyogam. That when dukkha samyoga happens, you know how to have viyoga. You know how not to be affected by that situation. So that is what can be said in this regard. I hope that answers your query, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It does. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next we have Kamala Mataji.
Oh, wonderful.
Hare Krishna, then Pranam Prabhuji. And Pranam to Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Param Prabhu, and all the Vaishnavas here. It's wonderful to have your sessions, Prabhuji, and it's so enlightening, and sometimes I feel that you're just talking to me directly sometimes.
No, Shastra is speaking to me, so that's all I am replicating. Shastra is speaking to me, and I speak to whatever Shastra spoke to me. Shastra is speaking so much more which I could not speak. I should have spoken so much more, but my knowledge is limited. So I can only speak from what as much limited things as I know. But it is very nice that you feel that Shastra is speaking to you. That is the nature of Shastra. It speaks to everybody.
I'm Sudas to Shastras, Prabhuji. You're the one who is bringing those Shastras to my life. So, Prabhuji, I have a question that we were discussing about free will. Like, we have an option where we can, change our previous sanskaras. So, how can we strengthen our free will in a way? Because until unless we have our previous sanskaras, we cannot develop new sanskaras. So, how are we going to reinforce our free will in a positive way, or in a better way, that we can remove the negative sanskaras and develop some positive sanskaras into our life?
I'll give an example from my personal life, right? So in my childhood I got a samskar that I did not like one type of sabji. I really hated eating it, and whenever it was cooked at home, I made a stinking face and I said I don't want to eat it. So that's the samskar I got in my childhood. And later when I grew up, I got married, my wife told me it's a problem that it's such a nice sabji, you don't eat it. And I said, well, what to do? I don't like it. That's it. I don't like it. Well, don't pester me. I don't like it. So don't cook it. It's so sad we can't cook that sabji just because you don't like it. So I said, well, what to do? Some things you have to sacrifice for because you're married to a certain person. So then after a few days, I was giving a class, a program, a devotee program. And then after the program, that same sabji was cooked. And I said, oh my goodness, this, after giving a program, is that same sabji. And now you can't say no because they are serving with love and affection. And then I started eating it, but it was cooked in a different style. And somehow I started liking it just because it was cooked in a different way. And gradually, because of it being cooked in a different way, it being presented in a different way, I came home and I told my wife, if you would cook in this way, I would consider eating it maybe once in 2 weeks. I said to her, if you cook in this way, I'll maybe consider eating it once in 2 weeks. So the point I want to make is that sometimes we have disinclinations towards some things, but when an expert chef comes and cooks in a certain way, we start becoming inclined towards it. Similarly, we have some very strong tendencies from our previous from nature, but a person who's an expert in the opposite direction can influence us against our own previous tendencies. That is what Sadhu Sangha does to us. That Sadhu Sangha teaches us how to go against our tendencies accumulated from previous lifetimes. And that is where our free will lies. And the expertise of the Sadhu also lies. So this example of, please remember this example of the sabji that I hated. And I'll not tell which sabji it was, because then people will cook the same thing for me again and again. Right? So it is, this example is very wonderful because it teaches us how we can change our inclinations by coming in contact with a sadhu who knows how to expertly change the taste of a particular person. That is how it works. All right. So I hope that answers your query.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Happy Balaram Jayanti, not Jayanti, Purnima to everybody.
Thank you. Same to you.
So we can be convinced against our own prejudices.
Yes. That is work.
Our own dvesha.
Yeah, that is our own raga and dvesha. That is the work of the sadhu, to help us go against our own raga and dvesha.
By discovering that our self-interest actually lies outside of our own instincts.
Yes, and that Shastra and Bhagavan give us the highest self-interest. And by following that self-interest, all of us can be benefited unconditionally. That is the job of the sadhu, to convince us to follow that path. So once the sadhu is able to do that, then that sadhu has really transformed our lives, and we should be heavily indebted to such a sadhu.
And so even when we're told to forgive, it's not some sort of just moral lecture that we're being given, but it's actually in our self-interest.
Yeah. The sadhu not only tells us theoretically you should forgive others, the sadhu gives us the logical reasoning as to why forgiving this person will be beneficial to us. Like Shri Das, he turns our understanding of critic upside down. And Charan Das tells us how exactly we should think in relationship to a critic. In fact, he goes all the way and says that may my critic get liberated from the repeated cycle of birth and death. And when a devotee develops that sort of a compassion towards even his or her critic, that is when the devotee has truly acquired the nature of a sadhu. So,
beautiful. Next, thank you. Next, we have a question from Leela Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Parshad Prabhu, my Dandavat Pranam.
My pranams.
You went back on mute. Could you please unmute yourself and start over?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the people, there are many people and they have very different natures. Some are more mild, some are more passionate and sharp and direct. Sometimes, I mean, the way I listen to the class and it's beautiful. Like, for example, I want to be this way. But all is so mild and so gentle and so like it's so beautiful. And some people are just like little more different. Is this that as the Vaishnava qualities develop, devotees become more or less same in their character in a transcendental way, or a devotee may still be sharp and direct but just have no enmity in the heart? So my question, I guess, does the motive inside or the goodness of the heart counts when the external presentation goes? I know some very senior Vaishnavas, they're they're very sometimes can say hot-headed, but their hearts are so, and I understand, I can take it from them. And some Vaishnavas they can never talk. Like we know Indra Prabhu. I've been around the Indra Prabhu personally for 15 years of my life. Some people didn't. Is very direct person, very hot-headed. So that's my question. How do you reconcile this? Is there a space for a character, or it's best to just go super mild?
All right. So definitely there is space for our individuality, our character. Myself, you might say that my presentation is mild, but by birth, my nature is not mild. I am not born to have a mild nature. Neither astrologically I am mild. Astrologically, I am born in one of the most direct, outspoken sun signs, and that is how I am originally. And many people have told me that when we saw you 15, 20 years ago, you are a different person. Today, you are a different person. Of course, I'm a different person because sadhu sangha has effect, and we should let that sadhu sangha have effect on our personality. That's a part of growing up and being more mature. And this happens also in the lives of non-devotees. You might see in the lives of those who are not devotees, some people are very turbulent in their youth, and later they calm down and become mild because of the things they suffer in life. And so their nature also changes, but their nature changes as a result of experiencing suffering in life. The devotee's nature changes as a result of hearing from sadhus and being convinced by the logic that sadhus give them. Either that or time is a good teacher. One of the two things will teach us. So we have to either take lessons from the sadhus and Shastra, and we may still retain our personality, but then we know how much sharp, how much direct we should be. We know how to sugarcoat our words, how to punch somebody, but with very soft gloves, not very hard gloves. So like that. Sometimes in a lecture, I also put on some soft gloves. Recently, a person asked me in a talk, what if a senior person who's guiding a junior person manipulates him? And then I put my soft gloves. And I said that, manipulating others is very bad karma. One should not try to do this. So I have also learned how to soften my words. And otherwise, my mind is speaking in very harsh, direct words. But my speech is speaking very mild versions of those words. Please try to understand. That is how it works. It's not that I have lost my individuality. Within my mind, I still sometimes think in very harsh ways. But what comes out from my mouth is severely filtered according to the sadhu sangha, what sadhu sangha has taught me. Because I know that simply climbing on a horse and waving a sword in the hand is not going to help. It may hurt many people. So I need to restrain my words. And otherwise, if I act according to my astrological nature, I'll end up hurting many people, which I don't want to do. So nature has to change, and we have to have our individuality, but through a filter, so that it doesn't hurt other devotees. That is what can be said. I hope that answers your query.
Yeah. Thank you. It's inspiring.
Hi, Parshad Prabhu. If I'm not wrong, I think that sometimes when you're being humorous, you like to be bold and rebellious.
Yeah, that's my nature. So I can't prevent my nature because Krishna says in Gita, Nigraha kim karishyati. What will suppression achieve? That is one statement in the Gita. Nigraha kim karishyati. What will suppression achieve? It cannot achieve anything. So I don't want to, we don't want to become carbon copies of one particular archetype or role model. That I can't become a carbon copy of my own guru. I have my own personality. I have my own persona, and that is how I have to execute my bhakti. But bhakti can teach me how to put filters so that the negativities don't come out of my mind into my body, into my words, in such a way. Bhakti can teach me how to put those filters. And gradually bhakti can even filter out the mind's negativities so that I become a genuine sadhu. So that is what.
So it's not that you've learned to artificially suppress your own nature.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. You still have a bit of that boldness, a little bit of that rebelliousness.
Yeah.
But you've learned to redirect your instincts in a way that actually serves you better and is more harmonious.
Yeah. People who know me personally, over the years, they know how my nature has changed. And I'm not afraid to, I'm not shy of speaking it out. That people who know me personally, they'll tell you that previously he was like that, now he's like this. Obviously, that's how a person evolves, and it's healthy to evolve in a positive manner.
It's really nice to get to know you more. Next we have Shivanshu Tiwari Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had question regarding witnessing the ninda. Like many times and oftentimes the situation comes where one has to face the situation like someone is doing sadhu ninda due to sectarianism, like someone belonging to one institution or center is trying to criticize someone who is not belonging to his institution, and maybe the other person's fault is not there, but still due to that person is belonging to another institution or another sampradaya or another sector, so he is trying to criticize him without any reasons. And especially suppose in the scenarios oftentimes when the person criticizing is senior to us and we cannot neither stop him nor we can go away, then what can be done in such situations?
All right. Especially it is now the bold direct nature comes out. It is a Kanishta Adhikari who speaks like this. A Kanishta Adhikari who distinguishes between his group and other people's group. That is the precise nature of a Kanishta Adhikari, a person who has a differential mentality and who commits violence against others by critiquing them. And this is specified in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Kapil Muni. Abhisandhaya. It is specified. Yes, here it is. Kapil Muni says that it is actually bhakti in the mode of ignorance. It is 329.8. Abhisandhaya yo himsam dambham matsaryameva va samrambhi bhinna drik bhavam mai kuryat sat tamasaha. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent, and angry, who is a separatist, mainly, who is a separatist, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. So this is the nature of bhakti executed by such people who differentiate between their groups and other people's groups. And therefore, it is very important. See, sometimes a person genuinely wants us, don't go to that other group because the other group is also problematic. The other group is also of that same nature. So sometimes a devotee genuinely wants us, that is a different case. But somebody criticizes others just because they are different from me. That person is executing bhakti in the mode of ignorance. And I can be bold and direct to say that because that is what Shastra says. As it is, I am telling you, such a person is a separatist. And therefore, one should, even if such a person is a senior, one should mentally run away from that place. You may not be able to physically run away from that place. Mentally run away from that place. Don't be in the same mental space as such a person, because such a person is not going to bring any auspiciousness or progress to our devotional life. One should mentally run away from the space of such a person And one should instead mentally associate with people who are more broad-minded and who are more encompassing. Because we have 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, and Shastra accepts and glorifies 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. And if somebody is going beyond Shastra and trying to critique even within 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, that person needs to be called out. But at least if we can't call them out, then at least we should not mentally associate with such people. All right. So that is what can be done. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to unlock the chat. You know, sometimes people are not comfortable raising their hand and speaking, asking a question.
Maybe if somebody has any question remaining, they can ask in the Q&A group. No problem.
Oh, right. All right. So my apologies to everyone if your preference is to type in. I'll remember next time. I turn it off during the class because it's a big distraction when people are making comments while the class is going on, but I should unlock it once the Q&A starts. So my apologies. We'll get it next time.
Sure.
Anyway, so thank you all.
There's one more query from Bhaktin.
Sonam.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu, and Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. Thank you very much for the class. Prabhu, my question is that you said that the providence Krishna forces us to act in a certain way. So, but that force is also coming because the jiva desires to do those things. So, if somebody like Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita purports, so-called enjoyment. So if we want to indulge in a so-called enjoyment, then Krishna grants permission, sanctions. Okay, you go and enjoy. So I was reflecting on that, and I just want to clarify that with you, that it's also because of our own individual propensities, right? That super soul is guiding us.
Yeah, of course. When I specified that Bhagavad Gita 5.15 purport, I had specified, I don't know if you were there during that time, where it was specified, Kaushitaki Brahman Upanishad, the Lord engages the living entity in pious activities and the Lord engages the living entity in impious activities. Both things are there. And below that, Agyo Jantur Anishoyam Atmana Sukha Dukkha, Ishvara Prerit. He is inspired by Supreme. Bhagavan inspires the jiva. So Bhagavan is having a great influence on the jiva, but according to the previous inclinations of the jiva, Bhagavan inspires a jiva. Bhagavan doesn't inspire a jiva whimsically. Bhagavan inspires a jiva according to the previous inclinations that the jiva has had. This is the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutras. So that is what can be said. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu. And Prabhu, I have a second question, but it is not a clarification. So may I ask now?
You're the only one in line.
Okay, sure, Mataji.
Go ahead.
So yes, so Prabhu, the other question I had is that about free will. So then, like in case of Duryodhana, he said that I am forced to act in this way. So then, I'm just clarifying, like then we are completely tied like a horse, or that free will comes because of Vaishnav mercy. How will a person act on that free will?
See, Duryodhan is an actor in a Leela. Duryodhan played a role in the Mahabharata. If you look in the Mahabharata, you will find out that Duryodhan was actually having an amsha of Kali Yuga and Shakuni was an amsha of Dwapar Yuga. Shakuni and Duryodhan were both amshas of Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga respectively. So they are just playing a role. But when it is not Leela, like right now it is not Leela, we are not participants in a Leela, we can become a sadhaka, a practitioner. And a practitioner can influence his or her free will by coming in contact with another sadhu. Duryodhan cannot influence his free will because he is playing part in a Leela. On a stage, he has to play the exact role that has been chalked out for him. But we are not acting in Bhagavan's Leela here. We are just, we are right now sadhakas, and we can change the way we behave by associating with a sadhu and getting higher instruction. So that is possible for us, right?
Okay, Prabhu, isn't Kali Yuga also Leela by Krishna? So we are also part of.
The entire Kali Yuga is not specified as Leela anywhere in Shastra. When Krishna comes personally, that is what his direct associates engage in Leela. Right now, neither is Krishna present personally on the planet in Prakat Leela, nor are we direct associates of Krishna in that particular Leela. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Shivanshu Tiwari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I had one small question regarding the dosh. Like you mentioned, Sridhar Swami's commentary, where he says that the definition of ninda is ninda dosh kirtanam. But oftentimes there is subconscious dosh chintan instead of dosh kirtan. And like what does, like we see that you mentioned that the result of dosh kirtan is that the result of the doshas of that person will come to us. So is there anything specified about thinking about the doshas, like subconsciously dosh chintan happening? Is there any results of this, and how to overcome this?
Of course, kirtan or publicly advertising somebody's fault only happens when chintan has happened, when meditation in the mind has happened. So your association with somebody else's fault has not begun at the time of kirtan, at the time of advertising those faults. Your association with those faults has begun since the time you gave an entry point to them within your mind. That is the time when your association with those faults has already begun. The kirtan is just an extended expression of the faults that are already existing within your mind. So that is what can be said. You are already associating with them. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So we'd like to thank you for your participation. And I also want to give you opportunity to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much. Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Shakalpataripyascha
Hare
kripa
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Srila
sindhubhya
Prabhupada ki jai.
patithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
Srila
namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Shri
All right,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
everyone.
ki jai. Jai.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We
Thank you
look
so
forward to
much.
seeing you next time. Thank you,
Thank
Hari
you.
Parshad Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.